Hello, and welcome back to my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2 Battle Tendency. I personally am not too happy with how I handled my first Part 2 review, so this is going to be more of a condensed down version, and I'm only going to cover the more important story elements. Starting off, I really liked Part 2. This is my favorite JoJo part as of right now, and I think that it was a great sequel to Phantom Blood. As far as protagonists go, I really like Joseph and just the sense of charisma that he brings, how you just can't take your eyes off him whenever he's on screen or on panel. And I especially love how he uses his head throughout fights. One of my favorite things about his character being the line of, "Next you will say," it's just truly amazing, and I just love this guy. As far as antagonists go, I really like the Pillarmen, especially Wamu and Cars. However, I prefer Dio as an antagonist. Furthermore, on this, I was just more a fan of the relationship between Jonathan and Dio, as opposed to what we have with Cars and Joseph, or even Wamu and Joseph. When it comes to the anime versus the manga, I do prefer the anime, and I think that it is a superior depiction of this story. I also have to give massive props to the soundtrack, especially the anime opening, which I personally really liked, as well as the soundtracks that play for the Pillarman's introduction, Caesar's death, and Kars's transformation into the ultimate life form. Now, talking about a little bit of some story elements here that I liked, Joseph Joestar's introduction was an absolutely wonderful one, and it had me on board with his character almost instantly. When it comes to the events in Mexico, Straight's betraying Speedwagon was a very interesting plot point that personally I was excited to see more from, and I also did genuinely think that Speedwagon died here. Joseph versus Straits was a fight that had me on the edge of my seat and I think was a fantastic opener to part 2. At first, I didn't think that Joseph would be able to handle Straits, especially given how powerful he was at this point. But little to my surprise, Joseph pulls out a Tommy gun and unloads a full mag onto Straits, which was just an incredible scene. I really like the return of laser vision in this fight, and it's a shame that we don't get to see it again. Then, of course, the secret technique of running away was hilarious, but also very logical and practical on Joseph's part. And Joseph using the shot glasses to reflect the lasers was just a phenomenal moment. And overall, I really like this fight, and I really like how it wrapped up Straight's character. Jumping forward a bit, Santa Anna was a very interesting precursor to the future antagonists, and I really liked his fight with Joseph and von Stroheim, and I appreciate Joseph's creativity in this fight, as well as how he was able to end the fight. Now, I am a big fan of von Stroheim. He's a very interesting character for me, as I initially hated him and was just waiting for him to get his comeuppance through death. But by the end of part 2, he's now one of my favorite characters. Even if he never came back after the end of the Santa Anna fight, I still would have had a changed perception of his character. But this is only amplified when he returns to the story in order to fight Cars, as well as his incredible timing and participation in the final battle. Now we meet Caesar Zapelli. I really like his character, and his introduction gave us a weird yet fun concept in the form of a pasta battle, which I really enjoyed. The Pillarman Awakening was, again, another incredible scene, and the Wedding Ring of Death was a very intriguing concept. I liked how it upped the stakes and added a progressive timer for the rest of the series in order to help Joseph defeat the Pillarman. Lisa was another really great character, and this training segment was actually pretty well done, in my opinion. I especially did like the pillar portion of it, and I think that really served to help the connection between Joseph and Caesar. Joseph versus ACDC is my least favorite of the Pillarman fights, but it's still a good one nonetheless. I really like the ending, and I really like the brain segment after their main fight. One of the things I liked the most about this was Joseph and Caesar working together in order to save Susie Q. Now, jumping forward quite a lot, I really like Caesar's backstory and how this served to elevate his character before his big fight with Wamu. Caesar versus Wamu was a genuinely incredible fight, both the portions that take place outside as well as inside of the building, and I really like just how complex their abilities were and how well that was all explained. Caesar's final moments were heartbreaking to me. Caesar tying the lip ring to his headband and then the ceiling falling on him in the shape of a cross was just beautiful. Then the only thing left behind being the crimson red bubble was just the perfect way to end his character. And the anime's OST was beautiful and it only served to complement this scene very well. I was honestly tearing up when we got Joseph and Lisa's reactions, and this death really hit me hard because I liked what we did with Caesar's character in just the short time that he was in part 2. Joseph versus Wamu has to be the most interesting JoJo fight conceptually. I never would have thought that a chariot race would be the main basis for their main fight, but that isn't to say that I didn't really enjoy it. This fight highlights one of my favorite things about Joseph's character, and that being how he uses his head. This is just such a tactical and well thought out battle from start to finish. Almost every action seems pre planned for the next, and I truly think that this is just such an entertaining fight. The end was masterfully handled, in my opinion, and I really appreciate how Caesar was able to help still even through death. And I also really liked the respect and honor between Joseph and Wamu after the fight had ended. Cars versus Joseph, the first portion of it was really good, and Joseph's application of the rope throughout this portion of the fight was really creative, and it had me quite surprised at a lot of moments. Another incredible moment in this fight was when Joseph broke Cars' arm blade. I was just losing my mind. I didn't think this fight could get any better, but then it does. Cars becomes the ultimate life form, which turned out to be both a beautiful and scary scene. Then the plane sequence was fantastic, and I really did think that Joseph was going to die here, paralleling Jonathan. I really liked the creativity with Cars during this final battle, and Cars' backstory was actually quite interesting. The volcano portion of the battle was wild. Cars surviving lava was incredibly well explained, in my opinion, and then Joseph loses an arm, which shocked me to my core. I was not seeing that one coming. Then Cars uses Haman, and Joseph causes the volcano to explode, which causes this fight to then take place in space. This portion of the story was just absolute madness in the best way possible. Now, at first, I did think that Joseph died, but then he comes out of a car and sort of crashes his own funeral, which was quite the plot twist. And then, furthermore, adding to this plot twist, he is already married to Susie Q. The epilogue was pretty good, and I feel like it transitioned very naturally into where we would start part 3. So far, part 2 is my favorite of the JoJo parts I have consumed, and I am honestly really loving this series. It's just been fantastic so far and bizarre. That's going to be all from me today. Bye, guys.